السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. قال الله تعالى: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. وقال تعالى: يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. وقال تعالى: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. There was once a man at the time of the Israelites, at the time of Bani Israel, by the name of Sisa. He was an extremely pious man. Some scholars say he was the most pious man of his time. And in the village that he lived, there were 3 brothers who lived with their sister. So the call for jihad came. And the brothers accordingly wanted to leave for jihad, but they knew they needed to take care of their sister. They needed to leave her in the care of someone that they could trust. So they knew of Barsisa's reputation, worshiping day and night, day in and day out. So they said the best person to leave our sister with is Barsisa. So they approached Barsisa. They asked him, Barsisa, would you please take care of our sister for us? We want to go to jihad and we need to leave her with someone we can trust. So initially Barsisa actually disagreed. He didn't want part of this test. But they convinced him. They persisted. They said, we don't know anyone else we can trust with our sister. Could you please take care of her? So he succumbed to the pressure and he said, okay, I have my place of worship in this building here. In the building next to it, she can live and accordingly take care of herself. I will provide her food, but she will be on her own. Is that okay? And the brothers agreed. So they left. They left for jihad, and Barsisa was taking care of their sister. So now his plan to feed her is he will leave the food outside of his door, so outside of the door of his place of worship, then call to her and say, your food is ready, and she would come get her food. But Shaitan comes to him and whispers, Barsisa, you really want this young lady to be walking all the way from her building to your place of worship? Don't you think someone could see her and do something? Hurt her in any way? So initially Barsisa, he resisted. He was a very pious man, most pious man of his time. He doesn't fall for his whims just like that. But as time passes, he eventually succumbs and he says, okay, I'm going to leave the food right outside her door. So he starts doing that. And this goes on for some time. But Shaitan comes to him again and says, Barsisa, you're leaving it right outside her door. You might as well just put it inside. You might as well just put the food inside the door. What's the difference? It'll be easier on her. So once again, he fell for that pressure and he starts putting the food inside, but he doesn't do anything else. Puts the food inside and immediately leaves. But Shaitan's not done with him yet. Shaitan comes to him again and whispers and says, this girl, she's all by herself. She's all alone. No one to talk to. Put her to ease. Talk to her. Check in on her. So he begins to do that. He starts talking from the top of his place of worship down to her, asking her how she's doing, making sure she's okay. But then Shaitan comes to him and says, this is ridiculous. Screaming from the top of your place of worship, just come down. Come down. You'll be at your door and she'll be at her door. Still a good room. Just come down. Just talk to her that way. He initially resisted, but once again, Shaitan persisted and kept going after him, so he eventually fell for that. So at this point, Shaitan comes to him and says, look, you all are talking in public. She's showing her face in public. That's not good. Go talk to her inside. And at this point, Barsisa is so far down, he doesn't realize, as we all do, what trap he's falling into. So he does just that. He starts talking to her inside from where she's living. And eventually Shaitan beautifies her to him, and long story short, he commits zina. But Shaitan is not done with him yet. He took the most pious man of his time and made him commit zina, but he's not done. She becomes pregnant. So Shaitan comes to Barsisa and says, Barsisa, you know your reputation in this community. You can't let anyone find out about this. You're going to have to kill her. You're going to have to get rid of her. So he eventually succumbs to that pressure as well, and he murders an innocent human being. He murders her, buries her, and sets up this fake grave. So then when the brothers come back from jihad, they come and ask him, Barsisa, what happened to our sister? He says, oh, she was a good woman, but she passed away. So they paid no mind to it. They trusted Barsisa. He was such a good man. So they went on with their lives. But then Shaitan was not done with them in general. He came to them, each one of them in the middle of the night as a traveler, as they were sleeping in a dream, and said, no. You know what Barsisa said? He was lying to you. That wasn't what he did. He actually did such and such deed. So the brothers wake up and they all talk to each other. They consult and they said, wow, we all saw the same thing. And they're disagreeing whether or not to actually pursue, but they eventually say, you know what? Let's go check on where Shaitan told us to check. So they do, and what do they find? They find the body of their sister. So at this point, they come and approach Barsisa, and Barsisa knows he's found. He's done. They found everything. So they come and ask him, hey, what did you do? And he admits to everything. And accordingly, he's put for execution. But once again, brothers and sisters, Shaitan is not done with him yet. As he is being put on the cross to be executed, Shaitan comes to him in a form that Barsisa can see and says, denounce Allah. Obey me and denounce Allah. I was your companion throughout this time. I convinced you to do all of that. I had so much power over you. If you denounce Allah, I will save you from your predicament. So Barsisa belies Allah, and Shaitan leaves his side, and he's executed in the state of shirk. So now why do the scholars relate this story? Why do the Mufassirun relate this story? Well, it's related, they relay it as part of the tafsir of a certain ayah in Surah Hashr. كَمَثَلِ الشَّيْطَانِ إِذْ قَالَ لِلْإِنسَانِ كْفُرْ فَلَمَّا كَفَرَ قَالَ إِنِّي بَرِيءٌ مِّنْكَ إِنِّي أَخَافُ اللَّهَ رَبَّ الْعَالَمِينَ. It's like the example of Shaitan. كَمَثَلِ الشَّيْطَانِ إِذْ قَالَ لِلْإِنسَانِ كْفُرْ. When he says to people, disbelieve. فَلَمَّا كَفَرَ. Once they disbelieve, قَالَ إِنِّي بَرِيءٌ مِّنْكَ. I'm removed from you. I have nothing to do with you. You did that. You have to face it. You have to be responsible for what you did. إِنِّي أَخَافُ اللَّهَ رَبَّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Shaitan is saying this, I fear Allah, the Lord of the worlds. I have nothing to do with you. So what are the lessons we can learn here? The first of those lessons is obviously tied with this ayah. That when Shaitan has you do evil deeds, he doesn't take responsibility. At the end of the day, you take responsibility. Just like all of our parents told us, and I'm sure a lot of you brothers and sisters tell your kids, if your best friend jumps off a cliff, are you going to jump off right after them? Of course not. Shaitan is playing that same role. He's convincing you to do something wrong and then saying, I have nothing to do with you. But then a second lesson that you can take away looking at the story from a broader perspective has to deal with the ayah in Surah An-Nur. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ. O you who believe, do not follow the footsteps of Shaitan. Now realize here Allah says footsteps. Because very rarely does Shaitan come to you and take you from 0 to 100. Come to the most pious man, Barsisa, and say, commit shirk. No, he takes you step by step. It's the reasoning, as the scholars say, that why Allah said, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا. Don't even come close to it. Because Allah knows us better than anyone else. And He knows what we fall traps to. Shaitan knows that as well. He's worked day in and day out, studied how human beings work, and he understands that I have to take them step by step, deviate them slowly and surely off the path until they're in a place where Shaitan wants you to be. But there's a third aspect of this story that I'd like to mention that you must take a look from a different perspective. See, usually we relate to Barsisa because he's a human being and we understand how he fell through those traps. So we relate to him. We see ourselves in him. But I want everyone here to inspect Shaitan's behavior throughout the story. What do we realize? Because whether we like it or not only in America, in general, Muslims are a minority. Right? We're not 50% plus one. So what is Shaitan doing that is working so well? Well, one of the things that you see that he does to us, against us, is he is persistent. He does not give up on us. When he wants you to commit some sort of sin, he doesn't just stop. You say, oh no, Shaitan, I don't want to do it. Or you resist your desires and Shaitan's like, all right, this is a wrap. I'm done. Let me move on to the next guy. Nope. He keeps after you throughout your entire life. And see, persistence in and of itself, if you remove it from the negative intentions of Shaitan, it is a characteristic that we can take away as well. Because if we are to battle Shaitan, if he is our worst enemy and we are fighting against him, we need to understand how he works and we need to do better than whatever he does, we need to do better than him. Persistence, brothers and sisters. Persistence means when you feel yourself lacking. For example, you're fighting to come to the masjid for prayer. Just because you miss it once doesn't mean you have to give up. No, you can keep pushing. Just because you slip up once does not mean you have to give up. There's another thing that Shaitan does as well. He has a thought out plan on how he wants to take you away from the path. He plans it meticulously. He didn't say, okay, I'm just going to get Barsisa to commit shirk. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. No, because he understands that if you fail to plan, as they say, you plan to fail. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So, similarly, what we can do is if we say, I want to start. Let's say I listen to a lecture or a khatira and I say, okay, I really need to read more Quran from now on. But that's all you do. I just really need to read more Quran. And you leave. And you carry on with your daily lives. Brothers and sisters, you all know better than me that that's never going to happen. Because you're not giving yourself some sort of tangible action item that you can take away. Instead, if you say, okay, I'm a busy guy. I work a 9 to 5. I work a 7 to 6. I barely have any time for my family. Maybe I can read one page after every prayer. Well, guess what? You've just set yourself a tangible action item that will accumulate because you read that one page after every prayer, 5 daily prayers. So you've read 5 pages in one day. 30 days in a month. You've read 150 pages of the Quran. A quarter of the Quran in 1 month. 4 months, you've read the entire Quran. You've just finished the Quran 3 times a year by just reading that one page after every salah. Plan it out. And there's one more thing that we see Shaitan does here. He's never satisfied. He has lofty goals for himself on what he wants to accomplish with us. He wasn't happy taking the most pious man and having him commit zina. No. He wasn't even happy when he had Barsisa kill another human being. He wasn't happy because he knows better than we do of the man who killed 99, ended up killing 100 people, and Allah still forgave him. So he knew he wasn't done. He said, I have to come to him at his weakest point and tell him to commit shirk. So if we want to fight against Shaitan in this battle, then we have to set ourselves lofty goals. We don't just say, Ya Allah, just let me crawl in, just drag me in by my collar, hang me on the gate of Jannah. Just stick me on the door. Let me just smell it. I don't even need to see it. No. What we instead need to do, just like our shuyukh teach us, you ask for the companionship of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Jannatul Firdaus. And then you plan accordingly and you remain persistent. I pray that Allah gives us the ability to set out those lofty goals, remain persistent, and give us the ability to plan out accordingly. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So not too long ago, I watched a TED Talk titled The 10 Ways to Have a Better Conversation by Celeste Headlee. And I happened to listen and then eventually read the story of Barsisa not too long after that. And the pairing of the two made me deduce a point that came across my mind that's addressing a problem, something that has been bugging me for quite some time. And I feel like this issue, we all need to be thinking about it and give it some time to ponder. So the TED Talk, 10 Ways to Have a Better Conversation, she outlines these 10 ways. And I'm not going to go through all of those, but she summarizes it at the very end with a very simple sentence. If you want to have a better conversation with people, be interested. Be interested in them. Be present in the situation. Listen to them. Actually be interested. You don't have to act like you're interested. Be interested. So now a natural question is that, okay, Celeste, what makes you such a pro? What made you so interested in people? What made you come to this realization? So she credits that to her upbringing. She says growing up, her grandparents used to live with them. And her grandpa happened to be a very famous individual. So people would come through her house, day after day. And it became the norm that as they would leave, her mom would tell her, do you know who that is? That's a Nobel laureate. Do you know who that is? That's the mayor of such and such city. Do you know who that is? That's a famous actor or actress. So she grew up thinking that every single person has something special and spectacular about them that I can learn, that I can take away, that I can appreciate. So now how do these two seemingly unrelated stories come together? Well, not too long ago, I, along with 6 other brothers, were burdened with the responsibility of being on the board here at Epic. And alhamdulillah, I learned quite a bit from that experience. I learned how an organization of this size needs to operate. I learned the potential that the Muslim community has, where we can give back. I also saw firsthand the volunteerism of brothers and sisters working day in and day out to make sure that this masjid operates. But with that good, I also saw the bad and the ugly. And you know what used to hurt me the most? Was that I would think, why would you volunteer for the masjid unless you're doing it for the sake of Allah? Agreed? You're doing it for the sake of Allah. Yet for whatever reason, we're sitting here, all our goal is for the sake of Allah, for the pleasure of Allah, yet we sit here and fight against each other and hold each other back. I'll give you an example. Take 2 brothers, Brother Bob and Brother Dave. Brother Bob and Brother Dave, the first time they meet, they have some sort of issue with each other. They don't agree. They have some ideological disagreement, and from then on, they don't know how to agree to disagree. They have problems with each other. So guess what? 3 weeks later, Brother Dave decides to propose an initiative that will be beneficial to the entire community. But guess what? Brother Bob doesn't like him. He's got a big problem with Brother Dave. So you know what he's going to do? He's going to go behind Brother Dave's back and say, hey, you know what this guy is? He puts a label on him. He says, oh, guess what? I'm going to have a program at the same exact day and time as Brother Dave, and I invite you to it. Because I have a problem with that guy. And I put a label on him. And you know when you put a label on someone, what you're doing is you're sticking them in a box and you're discounting all the good that they've done because of some personal vendetta, some personal disagreement, ideological disagreement. Now, what do we learn from the story of Sisa and the TED Talk? Is that no matter how much you dislike that brother or sister, they're not your worst enemy. They're not your worst enemy. They're not shaitan. And if you can identify from the story of Sisa the behavior of shaitan, you can take 3 things from the behavior of shaitan, then I assure you, you can do much more for that brother or sister that you don't like. You can find things that you can appreciate within that brother or sister and good that you can support. Because brothers and sisters, we need to understand how to agree to disagree. And if we don't understand that, then the sad reality is we will not be able to come together and unite and take our Muslim community to the next level. It's the sad reality. But instead, if we sit there and focus and say, you know, I have an ideological disagreement with this brother, but you know what? That program that he's initiating or that program that he's running or that organization that he's a part of, I support it. I think it is for the sake of Allah, and I firmly believe that it's good work. Learn how to separate your personal disagreements from the work in the masjid, from work in Muslim organizations, from the work anywhere, from the work at work even. Learn to keep those separate. Because brothers and sisters, we have to learn to unite and work together to better the ummah and take ourselves to the next level. And one of the ways we can do that is learn to appreciate the good in other people and then learn to overlook the bad. Learn to put those aside for the sake of Allah. I pray that Allah gives us the ability to learn to put those issues aside and appreciate one another for the sake of Allah. I pray that Allah brings our hearts together, unites our community, unites our Muslim ummah all across the globe, and help us take our ummah to the next level. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصرنا على من خالفنا واحفظ بلادنا وأصلح أولادنا واشف مرضانا وعاف مبتلانا وخذ بأيدينا إلى كل خير وعصمنا من كل شر واحفظنا من كل ضير. اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معصيتك ومن طاعتك ما تبلغنا به جنتك ومن يقين ما تهون به علينا مصائب الدنيا ومتعنا بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقواتنا ما أحييتنا واجعل الوارث منا واجعل ثأرنا على من ظلمنا وانصرنا على من عادانا ولا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا ولا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا ولا إلى النار مصيرنا ولا تسلط علينا من لا يرحمنا آمين. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. فاذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. أقم الصلاة.